So last time Narad was talking about God's secret plan. He has already said the death of Satyavan must occur. Now that death of Satyavan is therefore linked up with God's secret plan. He must die. Behind that, there is a secret plan of God. And then, of course, he goes on to elaborate that this plan has to be executed, and it is being executed by many known and unknown Masons. And of those unknown Masons and known Masons, Savitri is one master builder. Now, he has simply said here that there is a secret plan of God, and that plan is linked up with the death of Satyavan. But he has not so far indicated what that plan is. He says secret plan. He has not made clear what that plan is and how Savitri is going to contribute in effecting that plan, in bringing that thing into operation. Now that is what we are going to see now in this last portion of the book. And as I said many times, of course, that from this point onward, Queen Strinomore 112.43 till the end of the section, these 72 lines were absolutely the last dictation made by Sri Aurobindo around 15th November 1950. Absolutely the last dictation of Savitri. In fact, not only Savitri, of all his literary activities. So that has a kind of a seal of finality in what he wanted to convey in terms of writing. You see. These 72 lines were added in view of the decision which is going to be effected shortly in another 3 weeks. On 5th December 1950, his withdrawal. That is a momentous event, and on that momentous event, we have some hints available in these 72 lines, and also some idea of God's secret plan. What is true? Now, would Narad really know the integrality of the secret plan, the total impact it is going to have? That is perhaps not immediately discernible. He would not know all the details. But he surely had the intuition of the way in which things are going to move. When he came here from his home in paradise, chanting the name of Vishnu, singing 5 songs, he was singing the song of creation. And where this songs are going to lead the creation to what point, where will the creation be led? That is what he was singing in those 5 songs. Now we can quickly see he sang of the glory and marvel still to be born. 106.11. He sang of the glory and marvel still to be born, of the Godhead throwing off at last its veil, the veil of inconscience which the Godhead had put on himself, that will be discarded. Of bodies made divine and life made bliss. He is talking of bodies made divine, the physical itself, and life made bliss. Now it is here, his of bodies made divine and life made bliss. It is not of life made bliss and bodies made divine. It is not the other way around. It is not life made bliss and bodies made divine. Obviously, unless the body is made divine, life cannot be bliss. As long as it is not divine, there is grief, there is sorrow, there is suffering. So the entire thrust of Narad's song is of the bodies being made divine. Immortal sweetness clasping immortal might, heart sensing heart, thought looking straight at thought, and the delight when every barrier fails, and the transfiguration and the ecstasy. So that is what he is singing. He sang the glory and marvel still to be born of transfiguration. First transfiguration and then ecstasy. First body made divine, then life becoming bliss. And as he sang, the demons wept with joy, forcing the end of the long, dreadful task, and the defeat for which they hoped in vain. And glad release from the self-chosen doom, and return into the one from whom they came, going back to their source. They had taken upon themselves a very difficult task, a very onerous task with full responsibility to be the adversary of the divine. It really something great. And they had taken it upon themselves because it is by being so, being the adversary of the divine, that the divine purpose is promoted. So they had accepted that extreme state also. Now they are happy that the moment has come for them to abandon that role of theirs and go back to the divine source. They are separated from the divine source, so they are now happy to go back to the divine source. So body is made divine and life made bliss. That is the secret plan of God. And in the execution of that plan, Savitri is one master builder. Savitri is one master builder. So the song of creation is now getting completed in the fulfillment of the purpose of life through Savitri. And when such great issues are involved, naturally any human reaction should not come in the way, should be dismissed, has no value, has no content in it. and it should be kept aside. And therefore now he addresses to the queen, be away from here. Your role is not there. You cannot stand in the way of the secret plan of God. Satyavan's death, the secret plan, bodies made divine, life made bliss. These are the issues involved. You have no role there. Human is too limited, too small even to comprehend, to grasp the implications of what is really involved in the entire process. Please keep away from that and let Savitri do what she has come to. She is aware of it. She has recognized it in her soul. And that is what Narad is asserting again. Queen, try no more to change the secret will. That is the secret will. Times, accidents, or steps in the vast scheme. Now, he is speaking of accidents. He is also talking of plan, secret plan and accident. Well, the blueprint of God is perfect, but it has to pass through the cosmic process. And there are cosmic agents, cosmic forces. The process of time is there, and they have their own interventions in the execution of that blueprint. And therefore, times, steps are involved. Now, times, accidents, or steps in the vast scheme. Actually, on the human plane, the whole thing appears to be a series of accidents. Savitri is going from place to place, Satyavan is going from place to place, they suddenly meet and all that thing. It is a kind of an accident that Satyavan's father should lose his kingdom, he become blind, lose his kingdom, get driven to the forest, and there he grows up into full youth, meets Savitri and all that. These are accidents of time. These are accidents of time. One might say that planned accidents in the process of time. In the vast scheme, they occur in the vast scheme, planned accidents. And therefore, Savitri's meeting Satyavan is a welcome event. There is a greater intention, a secret will is there, and it is that she must recognize. Bring not thy brief and helpless human tears. Now he is of course ridiculing this little lady. See, what are you here? When such big issues are involved. Such big issues are involved. Across the fathomless moments of a heart, fathomless moments of a heart. Obviously, that is the fathomless moment of Savitri's heart. She is deeply concerned with larger issues. Fathomless moments of a heart that knows a single will and gods as one. Now, this is a little doubtful. Fathomless moments of a heart. Does Savitri know that it is God's will? Narad may be knowing it. Narad may be seeing behind these accidents of time something different. But Savitri may not yet see that. After all, Savitri is a human Savitri. She has not yet done yoga, where single will and God's as one. Her will is one with God's will. She does not know it consciously. Her soul knows it. The response which comes from the soul, that is the response which is one with the will of God. Her soul's response. But the human element of Savitri is still there. and therefore she has to go through the process also. She has to go through the process also. That knows the single will and gods as one. It can embrace its hostile destiny. Savitri does not know that, but Narada of course knows it. It sits apart with grief and facing death, affronting adverse fate, armed and alone. Now, Narada is anticipating these things. These are, to a certain extent, futuristic lines in terms of Savitri's yoga. At this moment of time, all that has done is Savitri's soul has awakened, it has come out fully, and it has recognized what she must do. She of course says, I know what is God's will, but that is her soul. But in order to meet the real difficulty, she has to prepare herself in a bigger way, in a deeper occult way. And that is what will happen in the next 7 cantos in the book of Yoga. Affronting adverse fate, armed and alone, armed. She has to become armed by doing yoga. Until then, she cannot really meet the challenge. And alone, of course, she alone can do that thing, none else. It is her yoga. Savitri yoga is Savitri yoga. And it is a specific yoga in the context of the master builder. The yoga of different master builders are different yogas. Savitri yoga is of a different type. There is a kind of a uniqueness in the yoga of Savitri. And that is what she has to do. And that uniqueness is to meet adverse fate, to meet adverse fate. It is in that context. Now, we do not know really whether other master builders had to face adverse fate, whether they had to face adverse fate. Possibly, well, of course, in the case of Christ, he knew also that this is going to happen to him. He knew in advance that it was going to happen to him. The crucifixion, he had an idea of it in advance for that. But in the case of the other avatars, we don't know whether they knew of the adverse fate, whether they really faced the adverse fate. I don't know really whether we can talk that way, but still, let us raise the issue. Did the mother face adverse fate? Did she even though face adverse fate? What do you say?
No, I think it's a day of word. Because what she gets, we can call it like this, we can call it something else. I don't know. What do you think? How do you call it? So?
No, this is affronting adverse fate.
Even what you said, the Christ, he knew. He knew or he didn't knew. He received some adverse act. Okay, so or he knew and it was not adverse.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call it.
No, well, I mean, he accepted that always as the will of the God, will of Father.
Okay.
You see.
So, but is the will of God, we can call it adverse fate.
Yeah.
Can we call it adverse fate, the will of God?
No.
So what is it?
No, it's not. Yeah, exactly. No, no. What I'm saying is, really speaking, I don't think. Of course, she went to jail. This happened, that happened. All kind of times accidents taken place, and somehow he managed to come to Pondicherry. Mother came to Pondicherry, and all those things happened. You see, We don't really call them adverse fate. See, adverse fate here, in the case of Savitri, is of the worst kind, in the sense that she is going to meet death. She has to confront him. She has to really challenge him and conquer him. That is the extreme kind of an adverse fate which she alone is encountering. She alone is encountering. And at that point, she does not know what is going to happen. She does not know what is going to happen at that point.
No, but the mother is saying she encountered fights she encountered all this which was against the divine manifestation,
Yeah.
against transformation. She had to transform all this in her own body. No, it's exactly what she had to encounter. Alone. Exactly. And armed. It's true.
Very difficult question, I will say, whether the adverse fate, see, whether really mother, she saw everything as a part of the process, and she had completely identified herself with the process of the divine's will. So she is not concerned, she is not really seeing as an adverse fate. She is seeing this as the aspects of pragmatics of doing things. Pragmatics. She is pragmatic. Well, this is this, this is this, this, this. And she also knows that there is a divine help, divine support, divine work, etc. You see. Whereas in the case of Savitri, till the last minute she has no idea what is going to happen. In the case of mother also. When it comes to the question of physical transformation, at that point, she is not in know of what is going to happen. And finally she says, Lord, whatever you will, succor to her. Always succor to her. That is her formula, that is her solution for the adverse fate. But in the case of Shaivanam, I don't think there was a question of adverse. He knew the difficulties, absolutely, and therefore he could will against them. There was nothing like an adverse fate. Yes, death is there, I will do this, I will do this, I will do this, I will do this. And finally he fixes up the whole issue by withdrawing from the physical body. That is not adverse fate, that is a part of the process. That is a part of the process, you see. It's a willed decision.
You mean because he knew? Because he knew what
No, whether he knew or not, whether he knew or not, yes, this is a problem. I will this way and do it.
Yeah, but mother, she said same.
Mother finally says, Lord, whatever you will. The knowledge is not given to me. She says.
Yes.
Uh,
But it means it was adverse phase?
she says, I don't know. Knowledge is not given. Therefore she says, Lord, whatever you will. No?
Yeah, but I don't understand. If she said like this, you mean it could be adverse fate?
No, I will not call. It is an extreme situation she is facing, of which at that moment of time she has no idea what to do. She has no idea what to do. She says, knowledge is not given. Therefore, I will leave it to Lord. No, it's a very difficult question. In fact, we are talking, but
if she knows or she doesn't know, what is the relation with to be adverse or not adverse? You understand my question? I mean, she didn't know, you said, but Shorito, he knew. So is it this meaning adverse effect or not adverse effect? I can't understand this.
No, I don't know whether we can say shaped and new. We can't say that. All that we can say is he saw a certain issue, and all that he will do is by his yogic force will against that issue. Will against that issue.
So it means it was not adverse effect.
It could be, we say adverse in the sense that it is something which is not getting out of the way, and therefore keep on trying, keep on putting your effort, build up your tapasya, build up your effort, build up your yogic force to conquer it, to change it.
The apparently adverse.
Yes. No, it's not just apparent. No, it's not apparent. It is a real adverse.
Yes, but actually, even through adversity, it is useful to grow. It is part of the process.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So it's not really adverse. I mean, it's part of the process. But
well, in the final analysis, nothing is adverse. In the final analysis, nothing is adverse. What you are saying is basically the adverse situation is something by which you rise to your highest, best divine possibility. In that sense, you see, the divine possibility. Otherwise, you would have perhaps ignored it, and that would have remained as a problem.
so it is useful.
So for the same reason,
It is useful.
Mother also was part of the process, I think, no?
Yeah, it is true. It is a part of the process. Yes, of course. Yeah.
And also what it happened for us also, I think.
Well,
If we can extend this
No,
question
no, you see,
all the game of the creation,
yeah.
everything happened to us also, we can say it's we are given some what we call adverse. We are given this to
Possibly,
be able to improve.
possibly, but basically, you see, we are living constantly in ignorance. We don't even know whether it is adverse or positive. Yeah, we don't even know that, you see. Whereas they know it, you see. Shivanu has an assignation with the night. There is a rendezvous between him and the night. A purposeful meeting taken as a challenge to get the full impact of the night's force. So there is a constant yogic thrust in the direction of the divine movement in which they are taking things. Constant yogic thrust is there. So for them, you don't really call in that sense adverse, possibly. But here, at this stage, adverse because there is a great human element present. There is a great human element present, you see. Therefore, it is adverse. Whereas in the case of Mother Shivanu, there is not that element in that sense, you see. It is a situation which they are meeting. Savitri has to face it still as a human, you see.